Welcome back, everyone. Good evening. Friday, the 10th of October, 2025. And tonight you have me and Richard. We are going to be discussing a lot of things tonight. We've got a lot to get through. The main topic of this evening's conversation is, well, the war allegedly in Gaza is over. Donald Trump appears to have pulled off a deal that no one thought was possible. We'll be talking about that later on. But we've got a few things to get through before. Some very important things that have come to my attention over the course of today and the last couple of days. But before we go any further, Richard, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, Paul, I'm good. Paul, can I ask you a question? Is that a Christmas tree you've got sitting behind you?
It's not, mate. It's actually just a regular tree. Not
That
a
is my
Christmas tree.
eyesight's getting so bad. I mean, see
Not
by
yet.
Christmas I'll be seeing a fairy sitting on the top of it, baubles and everything, mate. It just looked very Christmassy. I'm liking it.
Yeah, not yet, mate. No, it's at the moment the shops are full of Halloween gear. Bit early.
Pagan festival.
A bit early, mate. How are you, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Good, good. Just back from
Have
our
you?
little
I was
our
going
little
to say,
weekly
have you been
demo.
out? Have you been out?
Yeah, we're just down at the demo there. I tell you, there's a real community building down there, and it's really good. I mean, a lot of the people down there watch us on the show. So just anyone that was down there tonight, thanks for coming and showing up and standing and it's becoming sort of almost like a family, Paul. Just a lot of people know each other anyway, but it's a really nice atmosphere, and there's nothing. It's completely opposite of what the mainstream media and all the scumbags in the television and on the papers are saying about us. But that's
Yeah,
par for the course, isn't it? We know the
yeah.
truth, and it's a lot different to the lies that they're constantly pumping out on the airwaves.
It is indeed. The first thing I want to go through tonight, Richard, quickly, there's two or three topics I want to get on before we get to the main event.
Yeah.
The first one tonight is the Afghan migrant Fayaz Khan has been found guilty of making threats to kill Nigel Farage on TikTok. I'm sure you've all seen that within the news today. Let me just get him up. He's a lovely looking chap. There he is. Now, I've got a couple of questions about this. During his trial at Southwark Crown Court, the Reform UK leader described the post as pretty chilling and expressed genuine concern, which he would. Khan, who had a significant online presence, filmed his journey to the UK via a small boat. And in police interviews, Khan claimed he was high on cannabis when he made the video and stated that he come to the UK for a new life, not to kill Nigel Farage. Now, the first thing that comes into my mind is that this guy was making these threats long before he got here. He started off in France and continued with them on the boat on the way over, and then I believe he continued with them when he got here. So my first initial question is, why was he allowed to even step foot on our shores? Well, actually, I've got a few questions. Why was he allowed to come in the first place? Secondly, where has he been for the last year? Has he been on remand? Has he been on bail? Where has he been? What sort of money has he cost us within that year? And thirdly, do we really need to send him to prison? Can't we just deport him? What's the point in keeping him here for another year, 18 months? He's only at magistrate, so it's not Crown Court, so it's going to be a 2-year sentence or less. Just kick him out.
Well, yeah, I mean, and if it's a problem kicking him out, just get him on a Hercules and drop him off over Afghanistan, back to where he came from. You
Yeah.
know, we could even give him a parachute.
Yeah, give him a
So
parachute, yeah.
yeah, I mean, anyone that's got, in all seriousness, anyone that's got an AK-47 tattooed on the side of their face before they even get to this country, why do we want them anywhere near us? He's obviously. Oh, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the other thing is, Paul, as you know, many people in our movement, I think I've had them, you've had them, we've all had death threats from people, and it just seems very strange that the only person that ever manages to get it to court is Mr. Farage. But
Well, I
that's a
mean,
whole other story.
the law's equal if you can afford it or if you're informed
Exactly
enough,
right.
isn't
And if
it?
you've got the
Yeah,
right
yeah,
connections, Paul, do you know what I mean? But no, I
yeah,
mean, the thing is, it part of this, and the cynical part of me would say this plays very well for Nigel. You know, he's the great defender of the UK against the invasion of the Islamist hordes, right? But we know he's not. We know he's not. So I'm very skeptical about all of it, Paul. And like you say, quite right. As soon as he got here, his feet shouldn't have touched the ground. He should have been arrested and deported and dropped. I don't care where they go now. I just want them gone, Paul. It's as simple as that,
Get
mate.
shot. Yeah.
Just get you know what is that man ever going to bring to our country in terms of culture and enrichment? I mean,
Well, he's not even a doctor or a nurse or a scientist or a biologist, is he? You know,
I think he's an engineer, mate. I think he's an
he's an
engineer. Yeah,
engineer,
he's an
right,
engineer.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
chartered civil engineer. He's going to come and build bridges and dams and all the rest of it.
He's probably engineered a few things in his life, but
I mean,
the second, go on.
No, go on, Paul.
Oh, the second thing I want to get through, we get through the relatively minor, with the relatively minor stuff before we get on to the big topic of the night. The second one, the news today, the man who was fined for burning a copy of the Quran outside the Turkish consulate in London has won his appeal against his conviction. Hamid Kuzgun, 51, shouted abusive comments about Islam as he held the flaming book aloft in Rutland Gardens, Kensington, on February the 13th. Now, for me, again, another waste of time, money and effort, right? But there's a couple of questions with this one. Not only should this persecution or this prosecution never have taken place, but the only appeal that should have been needed in this case is the appeal against the lenient sentence of the guy with the knife. Where's the appeal against that lenient sentence?
Yeah, I mean, on how he never got charged with attempted murder. I mean, if you start waving a knife,
Richard, he was charged with common assault. Common assault, which is a fairly low level, it's a fairly low level thing, right? Now, look, I wonder if any one of us did that.
Well, we know, and I'll tell you how we know, Paul. Look at those poor fellas that were involved in Epping. And again, I'm not sure exactly who they were. I have a funny feeling one of them could have been the guy that actually got his teeth knocked out by a cop. I'm not sure about that, but that's what it looks like to me. Again, I haven't really looked into who these guys are that got sent down. But those guys got sent down. Look, they shouldn't have done what they've done. I mean, they were a bit boisterous and all the rest of it, and it's not a good look. But they've got some serious time in prison, Paul. For what? Now, to me, I think trying to stab someone up for burning a Quran is a little bit more serious than basically, getting a bit leery with the cops, which seems to be all those guys really did. I could be wrong. I mean, again, I don't know much about the cases, so if I am wrong, please correct me. But to me, it's far more serious. And people talk about religiously motivated hate crime. Well, surely stabbing someone for burning a religious book is a religiously motivated hate crime. Would that not make sense?
I'll tell you what I want to do.
I mean, here's the thing, Paul, right? If you were an atheist, right, and you burnt a copy of the Bible, and I came along and tried to, plunge a flipping dagger into your heart for doing it, right, which no Christian would do, which is another story, which we'll not even go into that one tonight. But if I did that, right, and you were an atheist, surely that would be a religiously motivated hate crime. Yeah. And I'd be doing it because you were an atheist and I was a Christian and you insulted my religion. So this is what I can't understand, Paul. It is a completely two-tier justice system, and it comes to a much deeper issue that our pathetic, despicable, disgusting judiciary, our pathetic, despicable, disgusting CPS, the people who are making the decisions on who gets arrested and who doesn't get arrested in the police stations, all of those people are culpable in the absolute betrayal of everything that's good about this country. Free speech, freedom of expression. If somebody wants to burn 1 million Qurans, it's not my thing. Like Tommy was doing an interview with that Jewish guy, I forget his name, that writes Spectator, you know what I mean? Yeah. And great interview. And Tommy said, I won't burn a Quran. He says, I suggest everyone reads the Quran because that's how you're going to find out what Islam's really about, boy, do you, from time to time, I've read the Quran several times, and time to time I dip into it again. And it's not a bad thing to do because it makes you remember why you're so opposed to Islam, you know what I mean? So I want to know what's in the book. I'm not into burning books. But if someone wants to burn books, I've got loads of friends that burn books. Like at the end of the day, if they want to burn books, that's up to them. It's not It's not. It's not a big.
But
Not
but
load. Not loads of friends. I do know a couple of people that burn certain books, and that's all I'm going to say.
I've made my stance on it clear in the past. I don't think you should burn anyone's holy book because I think it's offensive, but it shouldn't be illegal. But that's not the point. The point is, I want to go back to this image. If that person was Tommy Robinson holding that knife, and the guy holding the book, what sentence, what charge would you think that would have been common assault?
No, I don't. I think it'd been
It would have been attempted murder.
attempted murder. I mean, and to me, it is attempted murder. I mean, that's the thing about this, Paul. When you're waving a knife about, trying to plunge it into someone's chest, that's attempted murder. I'm sorry, it's just as simple as that. And yeah, I mean, even carrying a knife. I mean, I thought there was a prison sentence for carrying a knife if you're intending to attack someone with it. It
Oh,
makes
I
no
thought it
sense.
was-
But
I thought it
Paul,
was 5 years, Richard.
I thought so. I thought so. But here's the thing: the reality of the situation, Paul. That people are saying that your mic's a little bit low today. I don't know if you can turn your
A
volume
bit
up.
low. Let's have
Yours,
a little
yeah,
look.
they're saying it in the comments. There was loads of stuff in the comments saying turn your volume up. Said Richard sounds okay, but Paul's really low.
Is that any better?
Yeah, that's better.
That better?
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's good, man.
Let me know if that's better, everyone.
That's a bit
Hopefully
too
it
loud,
should
Paul.
be
That's a bit. That's
too loud, is it?
Yeah, down a wee bit. It's just, there's a bit of
Let's have a
distortion in
little
that, Paul.
look.
That's that.
Any better? What's that
That's
like?
that. I think that's okay. I think that's okay now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Okay. Good lad.
Let us know in the comments, guys, if you can hear Paul okay. That's the great thing about being live. You never know what we're going to say, but also we can have technical issues from time. Last live we did, it was my technical issues. This time it's Paul's technical
I'll
issues.
tell you what it is. One of me grandkids come in the other week, and I've got all me stuff set up, and they'd had a right old go. They had a bit of a DJ effort
Yeah.
on me mixer, and it's all gone to bloody. Oh, you wouldn't believe it, right? So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's your proof of your two-tier justice system right there. Why did that guy have to have an appeal to get his conviction quashed?
Yep.
Where's the appeal for the lenient sentence for the guy that went home to get a knife, came back with the knife, attacked the guy with a knife in the street, and told him he was going to kill him?
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
absolute insanity.
And the thing is, Paul, that guy that did that, he now has a target well and truly on his back.
Yeah,
And that
well, he's had
says,
to go into hiding, I believe.
well, absolutely. And that says everything you need to know about that book, about the religion that book's based on, and about what we're facing in the West. And by the way, Paul, you just got a really nice comment in the super chats, mate. I don't know if you want to put it on the screen, which I think because we'll probably forget it if we don't do it now.
I won't forget it, but let's have a little look. Laurie N, Paul, your video yesterday was your best yet. Knocked it out of the park, mate. Well done. Thank you very much, Laurie. I really appreciate that.
I think I said the same to you, Paul, didn't I? If you
You
didn't
did,
see
yeah.
Paul's video yesterday, and I think I spoke about it the other day when I was on live. If you haven't seen that video that Paul did, jump on and have a look at it. It was absolutely superb, and he nailed everything. Because again, it's like I've always said, everyone's coming on and giving the problems. I'm done watching videos about the problems. We know what the problems are. What we want is solutions, and Paul gave some fantastic solutions and very sensible solutions as well. And I think solutions that Advance UK will 100% implement. And just before I forget, if you're in Northern Ireland and you're wondering should you join Advance UK, well, I'm telling you now, yes, you should join Advance UK. I'm not going to say any more than that, but absolutely 100% join Advance UK if you're in Northern Ireland.
Rick says, Paul, what message is that sending out to all the others? They will think they can get away with it, threatening someone with a knife. Exactly. We went through that. I hope the volume is okay now. I've turned it up.
It's all right, Paul. I think it seems okay.
My box here is telling me I'm peaking, but, if it's sounding low before, I don't know. Right, the next thing I want to talk about, and the last thing before we get on to the biggest subject, is a very, very, very serious one and a very concerning one. Some of you have seen the reports, although this has not, for some reason, been reported on mainstream media. I've not seen it. I've seen it in one newspaper report. Let me just get it up, and it is this one. Gang in balaclavas with weapons prompt Midland school lockdown. Sheridan Hall Primary Academy in Smethwick was placed in lockdown with children hiding under desks. That's the school concerned. And the report said a gang wearing balaclavas and carrying weapons forced the school to go into lockdown. It happened at Sheridan Hall Primary Academy in Montague Road, Smethwick, yesterday afternoon, Tuesday, October the 7th. Masked men were said to have entered the school's playground and threatened children and teachers. Now, this is a primary school. It's not a senior school. It's not a secondary school. It's a primary school. A parent told Birmingham Live some of the kids saw the group of men wearing balaclavas and with baseball bats in hands and potentially other weapons. The kids have been traumatised and some of the parents have refused to send their kids back to school today. Can you bloody blame them? As the gang were heard saying they will come back tomorrow. Children were said to have been told to hide under their desks. Thankfully, no one was hurt in the incident. A spokesperson for the school said the lockdown was initiated as a precautionary measure in response to reports of adults on the school site wearing balaclavas and some potential weapons. Some potential weapons. I mean, they weren't going there with masks and baseball bats to play a game, were they? We contacted the police who attended, advised us on the appropriate course of action and are investigating further. Richard, it worries the life out of me. I mean, there's no indication of who these people were, and I'm not laying the blame at anyone's doorstep because we don't know, right? We don't know. But that's one of the problems, Richard. No one's telling us.
I think, to me, here's the thing, right? If that was a jihadist attack, it would be all over the news now because they would have gone in and they would have massacred kids. Let's just be honest, right? So I think the reality is with something like that, Paul, the truth of the matter is it was probably a little firm of maybe teenagers or whatever, tooled up, going to do something. I don't think for a minute, if you're a jihadist and you're going to go and do a school, you're going to go and do a school. You're not going to go and stand there and grandstand in the
I tend to agree with that, Richard. Yeah? I tend to agree with that. But the thing...
I tell you why I'm saying that, Paul, right? Because, again, we've got a responsibility not to over-egg the pudding. I mean, in the same way that we know that there's a lot of stuff being covered up and there's a lot of jihadi stuff being covered up and there's a lot of very sinister stuff that's gone on that we know's happened and is deliberately being suppressed by the media. But at the same time, I think if we amplify stuff that isn't... jihad related, but now here's the
it'd be nice to be told, wouldn't it?
Well, that's what I was going to say, Paul. Here's the important point: we've been gaslit that many times that when something like that happens, people straight away jump to the wrong conclusions. And here's the final point I'll say on this, Paul. Right? If it wasn't for the jihadists, right? Let's say there's a little firm of kids running around trying to be gangsters with baseball bats.
These are men, Richard. These are men.
Okay, men, whatever, yeah.
Okay, we don't know. Carrying baseball bats. Yeah. That's what it says in the report.
Yeah, sure. We don't know who they were or what age or whatever. But, the point I'm trying to make is if it wasn't for the things like the Beslan school massacre, if it wasn't for things like Southport, if it wasn't for what ISIS have done right the way throughout the world, if it wasn't for what happened in Paris, if it wasn't for what happened on October the 7th, nobody would be thinking about marauding terrorist attacks in the UK. The only reason we're thinking about this is because of jihad and jihadism, right? That's why, right? And so what I'm saying is there's always been criminality, there's always been little gangs like it. I mean, I'm not going to bore you with the details. I spoke about on my channel a few weeks ago. I had a situation where I had to intervene. There was a kid getting done in by a gang of masked lads, and I, basically stopped him getting a beating. Was no great shakes. I just had to shout at the kids and they all ran off. But the point is, I didn't for 1 minute think that those kids were jihadists, right? But that's because I'm in Northern Ireland. In England, the reality is that the security force in England are waiting for something like that to happen because they know it could happen at any time. And
what
that's
bothers me about this report What bothers, and I agree, Richard. I agree. Like I said, I'm not laying the blame at anyone's doorstep.
And it could, and it could have been someone doing a dry run. We don't know, do we?
We just don't know, right?
Yeah.
But what concerns me is if this was a senior school, then I would say, oh, maybe it's someone's got beef. It's another school, you know. I mean, when we were younger, we used to do that, go to other schools, and they used to come to us. But these, according to the reports, these are masked men carrying baseball bats at a primary school.
Yeah.
Now, no kid at a primary school attracts the wrath of masked adults carrying baseball bats.
Well, I might have done, Paul.
There's got to be more to this story, right? And for a start, most importantly, the parents deserve to know what it was all about.
And I think the thing is this, Paul, right? It's the fact of kids having to hide under tables. Those kids will never forget that.
Yep.
They'll never forget it, Paul. Especially the quieter, more timid kids. They'll never forget it. And I mean, it is absolutely a horrendous sign of the times that kids are having to hide under tables in schools.
Well, there's lockdowns going on all over the place.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line.
There was one in Northern Ireland a few weeks ago. I heard about it in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
And and the reality is, Paul, we never had this, even during the worst parts of the Troubles. We never had, the chance of basically somebody going into a school and murdering a whole lot of kids. That just wasn't even on the radar. As bad as the Troubles were, never even considered. But now that we've got the preferred demographic living amongst us, anything's possible, Paul. That's the problem.
Yeah. My good friend Ian there is saying apparently it was a drill practice one. I don't know what you know about that, Ian, but no practice run or drill I've ever known involved adults carrying baseball bats wearing masks. I mean, that's some drill. So there's got to be more to that. Lady Cat Blue, there was an incident at a school in Sidcup, Kent yesterday, apparently. Smethwick. Okay, yeah, sorry, Martin, it's Smethwick. That's how we say it. Right, let's get on to the main subject of the day, unless you've got anything to add on that, Richard, because we've got
Paul,
a lot to get through with the next one.
It's just a sign of the times. I think it probably wasn't a jihadist incident.
Oh, yeah. Please God, it wasn't.
Because what we don't want to do is having people, panicking, about that. But the downside is there is a possibility, as we saw at the synagogue last week, that this could happen at any time.
Richard, it doesn't matter if it was a jihadi or if it wasn't. What are masked men doing in a child's playground wearing balaclavas?
I agree.
I don't care what ideology they're following, whether they're black, white, they should be in jail. Yeah,
I agree.
That's the bottom line. Anyone that goes near a school with a weapon needs putting away for a very long time.
Of course. Totally agree with that, Paul. Totally agree.
So as we said at the top of the show, Donald Trump has pulled off a miracle by the looks of things. The pro-Palestine supporters can now go back to what they were doing before October the 7th, 2023. Well, I guess that's the hope. The reality is, in my opinion, I'm afraid to say, may look somewhat different. What do you think, Richard?
Well, Paul, I mean, you see, I've seen all this. I've seen this playbook before. When I heard that Tony Blair was involved, I just put my head in my hands and says, Trump, what are you doing, man? You cannot trust that guy. You can't trust Tony Blair for sure. So, and some of the laughable points in this were Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper claiming that it was because they pretty much, well, they didn't say this explicitly, but implicitly they were saying because they recognised the Palestinian state, this is why the peace process worked. What absolute, complete and utter nonsense. The only reason that they started spouting off about a Palestinian state is so that they could pander to the radical extremist nutcases that vote for them, and the only ones that will give them any traction at the next election. And actually, they're not even going to get any traction off them, because Jeremy and Banana Sultana are basically going to clean up the extremist vote at the next election. So I don't know where Labour are going to get any votes from. But by then they'll have probably cancelled elections and have a state of emergency imposed. But that's another story. Getting back to the Israel thing, I don't trust Hamas one iota. I still think there'll be a sting in the tail. I'll believe it when I see those hostages getting released. I will be like everybody else, absolutely delighted. Again, I was at one of the first Israeli Jewish, whatever you want to call it, events in Parliament Square in October 2023. And I think we talked about it the other night, Paul. I'm not sure whether we did or not, but I certainly talked about it on my own channel. And the fear among the Jewish people of London was palpable, and the horror of, because obviously they knew exactly what had happened by then, the horror of what they'd been through, and then all those faces, and how many of those faces are not coming home. And I was listening to a commentator talking about the conditions that the hostages have been kept in, and it is literally a living hell, Paul.
Yeah.
They've been kept in those tunnels in very, very tight and confined spaces. Now you think about our friend Tommy and the effect that solitary confinement's had on him. And the reality is he's in solitary confinement, but he's able to communicate in his own language with the prison officers and with his family and with us when we managed to get in and visit him. And he was, even though he was in a prison that he wouldn't have wanted to be in, he was fairly safe, right? But that has had a massive effect on his mental health every time that's happened to him, right? And as it does with anyone that gets put in those situations. Now, these hostages, the ones that remain alive, they have been underground in the dark, right? For, I think it's 660 days, is it? Is it 660 days? Something like that, isn't it? It's a massive amount of time. It's over. I think it's over 2 years. It's just coming up to 2 years, isn't it?
2 years, yeah.
2 years, whatever that is. I can't do the maths. But they've been underground. They have been starved. They have been brutalized. They have got people. A lot of these people, the hostages, won't speak Arabic. They're being tortured. They're being mock executions. Their families have been. Their family members have been killed. The family members on the outside, they don't know whether they're alive or dead. They've been living on 100 millilitres of water a day, Paul. And that's when they get water. They've been given salt water instead of fresh water. They've been forced to drink their own urine. They've been sexually abused. They've been physically abused. That guy, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know whether he was, not executed, murdered. The guy that was forced to dig his own grave. The damage that has been done to those hostages, Paul, is off the chart. Now,
Unquestionable.
It's brilliant if they get out, right?
I want to take you back for a minute, Richard. We'll get on to some of that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
I want to take you back to what's happening in the streets of London and around the UK. I mean, look, we've always had these pro-Palestine demonstrations to a much lesser degree. It's been much lower profile. No one's really noticed them. I mean, these mass demonstrations only really started after Hamas slaughtered more than 1,200 innocent people, women, children, including their pet dogs, by the way. It's only after that. Hold on.
Including. It's just moved my phone there, Paul. And including. I mean, I don't know if you heard the guy that was on Doran, the guy that was on Liam Tuff's podcast. If you haven't seen that, guys, if you haven't seen that Liam Tuff's podcast, please get on and see it. I'll just cut across this before I forget, Paul. Now, this is horrific what I'm going to say now, but there was a couple, and they were tortured. They were tied up back to back and tortured by these animals, right? And I'm not going to go into all the details, but they were murdered. But before they were murdered, they were forced to watch their children being burned alive in their own ovens, in their kitchen. Just imagine that. Because what I want to do, anyone in the chat that has the slightest bit of sympathy for, I'll be honest with you, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be controversial. I've no sympathy for anyone in the Gaza Strip. I'm sorry, I just really don't. I know that sounds really harsh, but I don't care. And
we'll come to that a little bit later again, because we're moving ahead of ourselves a little bit. Just let me get through the next
Paul,
bit, and then we'll get on to that. Sorry, Richard.
No, it's fine. No, you need to rein me in, Paul. You know.
Well, like I said, it was only after Hamas slaughtered all those
Yeah.
people that these mass demonstrations started to appear on our streets. In what I believe was their attempt to pull off the biggest con trick in history and somehow convince the world that they were the victims.
Yeah.
Now, that's the question is, now we've got the ceasefire, now the genocide has ended, right? The genocide that they call it. Now they've got what they want. Will they stop? Now, I believe no. And I'll tell you why I believe that, Richard. Because a large proportion of those people in those demonstrations wearing their masks and their glasses and their tea towels or whatever else they have, they're not really bothered about Palestine either. They're bothered about taking over the UK. That's what it's all about. It's not about peace in the Middle East. It's about taking over here. It's about what's going on here. It's all one big dirty parcel of enemy of the state, if that makes sense. So I don't expect these people to stop their protesting, because for me, a lot of them, it's not about Palestine, it's about this country and their hatred of it. And I think to ignore that hate will be very, very dangerous indeed. We've got to rein these people in now.
Well, the thing is, Paul, the reality is they're already running the state. That's the problem. They are already running the state and have been for a considerable amount of time since Blair was in power. These people have been running the state, and that's why we need a counter-revolution. I'm not on about anything violent. I'm on about a political counter-revolution, and that's why I keep going back to it, Paul.
Isn't it strange, Richard, that when you say words like that, you have to qualify it, but it's all right for them to go out on the streets and shout from the river to the sea, Intifada, no, what is it? No something, no peace. What is it? No justice, no peace. You know, what is it? Smash the far right by any means required and all that stuff. They never have to qualify it, do they?
Well, think about this, Paul. Globalise the Intifada is one of the cries from these scum. And they are scum. I'm not talking about any religious denomination here, by the way. I'm talking about people that are talking about globalising the Intifada. Because you know what globalising the Intifada looks like? Yeah. Globalising the Intifada looks like what happened at that synagogue last Thursday. That's what globalising the Intifada is, because that's what the Intifada was. It was scumbags driving cars into Jewish families, jumping out and stabbing them up. That was what the Intifada was, or suicide bombing, blah blah blah. All the usual tools in the terrorist handbook. Now, to me, we've got a massive problem with these radicals among us, and I think you said it very well the other day when you were doing your video. They all need to go. If these people are not British citizens, if they are British citizens, if they come here and got passports and then they're standing there under a foreign flag, calling for an intifada, calling for the massacre of my friends in the Jewish community, they've got to go. It's as simple as that. Take their passports
away and get shot.
Get them out. You know. But again, we're getting a bit off the topic. But you're absolutely right, Paul.
Well, the topic is twofold for me. It's what's happening in Gaza, what's happening between the people of Gaza and Israel as a state. That's one side of it, but I'm actually more interested in what's happening home here. So it's a double-sided coin, right? So for me, they're not going to stop here. This won't change a goddamn thing. In fact, it could even get even worse, because these people now are going to ramp this up. Because like I said, it's not about the Middle East, it's about here. The second thing is, as far as actual peace out there is concerned, you can't rationalise or negotiate with these people. And there's a very simple reason as to why I sadly believe there will never be peace out there, ever. And I don't like to say that, because obviously we all want peace, but last night I put a little compilation together and I actually deleted it. That's how bad it was. I put a compilation to video of children in Gaza carrying weapons. They had the vests on, you know, the type of vests I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They've got grenades, they're pointing guns at other kids and blah, 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 blah. And it was about 15 minutes long, and I could have made one about an hour long, right? It was about 15 minutes long. And my wife walked past and she saw it, and she's watching from behind. She said, "You can't put that out." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because it's terrible."
Yeah.
And I said, "But this is exactly why there will never be peace out there, because they are breeding and bringing up their children from the ages of 3 and 4 years old." There's a video of kids, they must have been about 8 to 10 years old, training like they were in the army.
Yep.
Now, when it's that inbred, when the hatred of Jews, all Jews, from the river to the sea, when that hatred is that inbred, it ain't never going to stop, in my opinion. And you know why? Because they don't want it to stop.
No, exactly.
I don't believe they want it to stop. What they want is the destruction and the elimination of Israel and every Jew in the world.
Well, absolutely, and what they definitely want, whether they want to kill them all over the world, but I think, you know, if you look at if you look at the reasons for jihad against our Jewish neighbours, then it comes straight from the teachings of Muhammad. It comes straight from the biography of Muhammad. It comes from the Hadith and the Quran, and it's very, very explicit. Hatred of Jews and of Christians is part of that religion, Paul. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just a fact, and we can, you know, tiptoe around that as much as we want. That does not mean, and again, it's ridiculous that I even have to qualify this because it's just for the slow learners in the class. But it doesn't mean that every single Muslim is a jihadist, but it does mean that every single jihadist is a Muslim. And I think it would be a good idea for people to think very, very long and hard about. And when it comes to Israel, there's a doctrine in Islam. It's very simple to explain. That there's two, well, there's actually three, but we'll not go into that. There's two geographical locations. There's a house of war, and there's a house of peace. Obviously, Dar es Salaam is a house of peace. I think it's Dar es Harab or something like that is the house of war. Might maybe pronounce that wrong. And if a state has been conquered by Islam, it becomes a house of peace, right? Now, if that state is taken back by an infidel army, then it is forever a house of war until the Muslims take control of it. And actually, even worse than that, the whole world that isn't Islamic, is a house of war until the Islamic State or the Caliphate takes control of it. Now, that's pretty basic and standard Islamic doctrine, and again, I might not be explaining it perfectly well, but that's pretty much what it's about. So the problem that you've got in the Middle East with Israel is the Islamic fanatics will never give up trying to kill every Jew in Israel, kill every infidel in Israel, and take it back to be part of an Islamic State, because that's what their theology and their doctrine demands of them. And it demands of it for all sorts of different reasons. But that's so that there cannot be peace. There cannot be peace with radical Islam. So Hamas, there's no point in negotiating with Hamas. Yes, get the hostages back, but then go back to what you do best, Israel, and wipe Hamas off the map. That's my opinion on it, because you cannot deal with Hamas.
Where do the people of that region go from here with Hamas in their own country now? Because they haven't had, I mean, look, to be fair, they've not had the chance to get them out for years, right? But I don't even think they actually would get them out, if I'm honest.
Well, if you
I
look,
might be wrong. I don't know.
Well, again, Paul, if you look at the amount of support there is for not just Hamas, but the doctrines that they believe, and again, you know, I could pull up the stats and rather than just do it off the top of my head, but I ain't got time to do it tonight. But the stats of people in the Gaza Strip that have very, very extreme views, you're talking up late 80s, 90% of the population have extremely radical Islamist and Islamic views, right? So that's a massive problem, because it means that there's who you're going to negotiate with. And even when you look at Arafat, who was supposed to be this great moderate, every time he got a peace deal, and Israel bent over backwards to do business with Arafat and the guy that replaced him. I can't remember the name of the guy that replaced him. But every time they did a deal, Fatah and the supposed moderate secular Palestinians turned around and said, nah, that's not enough. We want more. We're going to go back to Intifada. Happened every time. So I think they need to be removed from the Gaza Strip completely. Every single one of them. They need to go to Jordan, which is then their natural sort of habitat and homeland where a lot of them come from. And Jordan needs to be given a shed load of money. And there you go. There's your Palestinian brothers. You look after them, and we'll give you loads of money to look after them and keep them away from Israel. Because they can't live together. And listen, there's loads of Arab Muslims live in Israel. They serve in the IDF. They go to mosque. They're moderate. They don't cause any trouble. Occasionally, some of them get radicalized, but it's very, very occasional. So, why is it that there's Arab Israelis who are Muslims and Christians who live perfectly peacefully within the borders of Israel, and then there's these nutcases that want to strap things to their bodies and go and commit harry-carry, for their whatever cause it is. It's madness doing business with Hamas, in my opinion. But let's get the hostages back, and then after the hostages are back, I don't see why you should honour any deal that you've done with Hamas, because they're dogs and you shouldn't.
The bottom line is, we're just a couple of blokes sitting in safety. We don't know what's going on, what's been said, what deal they've come to.
No.
All I do know is I don't trust them.
No.
And the fact that, all this pro-Palestine lot that have been out making a bloody nuisance of themselves for the last 2 years, what do they expect to garner any ounce of sympathy or support from the British people when they'll be out on the streets again tomorrow, right, after they've kind of got what they wanted and what they say they wanted for a long time?
Yeah.
How can they ever be trusted? Like I said, for me, it's not even about Gaza for me with a lot of them. It's about their hatred for us. Jackie, thank you, Jackie. If we're going to get our point across, there's going to be arrest. Part of the game, unfortunately. What else can we do?
I think I get what Jackie's saying there. The reality is, if we think about the legislation, and this is why I'm not into this group punishment. It's very difficult because, this Labour government's on about passing legislation that under the cover of stopping the Hamas hate marches, right? Well, one, there's no reason for the Hamas hate marches to carry on now because obviously, the war's over. We've got peace in our time. We'll wait and see how that goes. But the truth of the matter is, there's plenty of legislation there that they could have nicked all the Hizbut to hear people that basically were calling for a jihad against Israel. The Met bottled that one. They bottled it because they're cowards. Not about the normal police officers. I'm on about the people that run the show. Yeah. They could have, every time somebody says globalise the Intifada, they should be arrested for incitement to terrorism. Every time somebody shows support for Hamas, they should be arrested and get 14 years in prison. It would soon thin out the crowd, Paul, and maybe they could act like decent human beings. And even the fact of parading through the capital of our city, the capital city of our country, with a flag of a country that doesn't even exist. How stupid are these people, Paul? And then they'll be carrying the little communist flags, and these people.
Oh, it's an unholy alliance, that's for sure. Richard, I'm always watching videos, because one thing I always do like to do. Let me read this super out. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
Nachal McGluck, I hope I've pronounced that right. Thank you very much. It must be seen, in my opinion, as an Israeli Jew, the biggest mistake Israel leadership made was the decision to ban the footage of October the 7th from the public. As horrifying as it is, the world needs to know. Do you know something? I don't think those people care. You could show them whatever you wanted. It don't matter.
I agree, Paul.
But or your average everyday person on the street that's on the fence and doesn't quite know what to believe, etc. I mean, how is it even a debate? How is 1,200 people being butchered in their homes? How is there even a frigging debate about the rights and wrongs of that?
Yeah.
There's no debate.
It absolutely
No
blows
debate.
my mind. It blows my mind, Paul. And the truth of the matter is, I saw the footage. I think you probably did as well, Paul. People sent me. I didn't want to see it. I didn't even want to watch it, but I made myself watch it because we've seen enough of this gore fest down since since mobile phones have been about. I mean, you're seeing exactly what people are seeing on the battlefield, really. And I don't want to see it. I don't want to see people getting shot in the face. I don't want to see people, getting tortured. But one of the ones that stuck out for me, and I'm going to be careful how I explain this. There was a woman in a car, and she was being, I don't have to say, by two of these savages. Her two children were sitting in the car while that was happening, and then she was murdered. And I'm not going to go into any more detail. That it was extremely graphic. Now I don't know if anybody else saw that footage, but that's that. And then there was another one with a guy, a big Palestinian guy with a shovel decapitates an Israeli guy using a shovel, right? And there was loads more I saw. I saw loads more than that. So what do you do with that? And that I don't know whatever happened to that wee girl. She was an IDF soldier, and she had some jogging pants on. She'd obviously been taken from and there was blood all over the backside of it. So we know what happened to her, right? We know what happened to her. We know why there was blood there, right? Yeah? What happened to that girl? And does none of these scum that are running round shouting "Globalise the Intifada" and glorying in what happened on October the 7th. And if you're a Muslim and you glorifying that, I'm going to tell you something. You're a scumbag. You have no place, not just in our society. You have no place on this planet. There's no place for you among humanity if you're not going to glorify in the absolute monstrous attacks that took place. And then they try and make moral equivalence between what Israel has done, what the IDF has done. And, I'm no military expert. I was in the army for 7 years, but I'm not going to pretend that I've got more experience than I have. But I've probably got more knowledge of what happens in war than most people, right? Or in conflict. And the reality is, the situation that the IDF were working in, and I know I don't want to make it all about Gaza and about Israel, but the situation they were working in was almost an impossible situation. And the fact that they managed to operate and so few people have been killed, and you might say, oh, well, there's 60,000 people have been killed. There's 2 million people crammed into that space in the Gaza Strip. And you've got child soldiers, you've got kids, as we saw. Paul, a lot of those kids that were caught, a lot of those kids are holding real weapons in those videos you've seen, right? They are child soldiers.
And who's responsible for putting those weapons in those kids' hands?
Hamas.
Who's responsible for
Islamic
doing
Jihad,
it?
Hamas,
Exactly.
and all the other radical groups that'll spring up. So, and what they did was, and I mean, if people don't understand this, that they buried themselves deep under civilian targets. They deliberately used their own people as a human shield, and these useful idiots. And I met with some people a few weeks ago, and I just, man, I mean, they were just so dumb. They were supposedly Christians.
Richard? Do you know? Go on.
But you know what? They were the typical, tree hugging. Oh, we've got to love everybody and hug everybody, types. Liberal Christians, nothing worse. And they were on about what was happening, and I just, I tried my best to be nice and try and explain the situation, but they just didn't get it because they're too stupid. They're just dumb people. They don't understand warfare. They don't understand what's going on. And we've got lots of useful idiots like that in our country, Paul. And I think we need to rid ourselves of useful idiots as much as we do of jihadists.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, look, the bottom line is this. Let me just read one or two of these supers. Thank you very much, Sarah. Apparently, they vowed to continue protests until Gaza is rebuilt and Israel has paid every remaining Gazan reparations.
Well, there you go.
Dark Side of the Moon, thank you. Hello, keep up the great work. I've seen too many things of radical Muslims and the left wanting to do us harm. Enough is enough. Sorry to say this, but I'm ready. Black Best, some people have been talking about a strike. Do you think it would work? Force the government to stop the ID and start deporting? Look, here's the thing, Black Best. It's a good point that we do hold the power and we can make things happen. The trouble is, most people are too busy earning their living to worry about the future of their kids. And that sounds a bit harsh to say that.
It's true.
But it is true.
And Paul, we've all been in that position.
You've got to go through a pain barrier, yeah.
We've all been in that position ourselves, Paul, for years. I've known about this stuff since 1984, right? And for years I sat on my hands. I told a lot of people about it, but I kept myself under the radar, and life was a lot easier when I was under the radar, put it that way, Paul.
What do these people want, Richard?
What are you talking about? Which people? The
people in the UK that are out every Saturday covering their faces, because I've tried to watch, I've always said this on my channel, that you only learn something by finding out that you were wrong.
Yeah.
When you find out you were wrong about something, you've actually learned something. Now, I've watched and I've listened to their side of the story. I've listened to what they've had to say, which is usually very little apart from fuck off. That's their favourite saying. I've listened to their chants. I've listened to their... Well, when you can get them to talk, they very rarely want to talk. And I can't make any sense of it.
Well, I think...
Not even 1%.
And this isn't an original thought. This is Douglas Murray's take on it. That some of them are useful idiots. They're just stupid people. They haven't thought it through. They don't know where the river or the sea is. They don't really know anything about the history of the Middle East. And they see the media pumping out pictures of dead babies and emaciated babies and lying about genocide and lying about aid and all the rest of it. And they buy into it because they're buying into the mainstream narrative, and they go out and do the march and hold the little placard and all the rest of it. So there's the useful idiots. But then he says there's another group of people who are inherently evil, probably psychopathic. They're manipulating the useful idiots. They're manipulating the numbers. And the sad thing is there's a very, very large number of those people who are genuinely, who probably when Jihad from Syria, or whatever his name was, carried out his attack, were probably cheering.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got in our midst, Paul. They're not all Muslims. Some of them are far left, nutcases, communists, Marxists, socialist workers, party type people. Jeremy Corbyn, little cuddly Jeremy Corbyn, is probably one of the evilest, most wicked men in the UK, along with his sidekick, John McDonnell, or whatever his name is, along with Hate Without Hope. These people are absolutely evil. They're far left. They will not negotiate with us. They will not talk to us. They will not interact with us. What they want to do is destroy us, and they're very clear about that. If you look at their doctrines, I'm talking about the left now. They don't want us to share power with them. They want to take power, and and under this Labour Party, they have taken power. And as you can see by the prison sentences that have been handed down, they're doing a very good job of wielding that power. And
That John McDonnell, he always looks like his dog's just died, doesn't he?
Well, yeah.
He's got hate all over his face.
He's a hateful man. They were friends with Adams and Co. and the IRA. They've been friends with every enemy of the United Kingdom as long as they've been in politics. They are evil, reprehensible, wicked people. And anybody, if you're in this chat, right, and you're watching this video, and you voted for the Labour Party in the last election, well, shame on you, right? I'm going to say that, shame on you. You're either stupid or evil. Simple as that. If you're a Labour voter, you're either stupid or evil. Now, if you're stupid, we've given you enough information here to stop being stupid. If you continue to vote for the Labour Party, you're evil. It's as simple as that.
It's a good shout. I'll tell you what, Richard, you know what I was thinking about today? You know Gary Neville's stupid comments the other day about white middle-aged men?
His wicked, evil comments, yeah.
Yeah, and how racist we all are. Do you know something? Most of the people that I detest are white middle-aged men.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a few women as well,
Yeah.
but most of the people I detest are white middle-aged men.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. And there's a few of other colours as well. I mean, there's a few women. I mean, I think.
And my point is, Richard, it's
Yeah.
got nothing to do with race, mate.
No, it
It's what's
hasn't.
in
No,
their
no, no,
mind,
no.
not the colour of their
Exactly,
skin.
exactly. That's why I'm not going to discriminate against white. I don't want to become like Gary Neville and start discriminating against white middle-aged men, because there's plenty of brown men, black men, and women that are equally reprehensible. I mean, we all know them. They're on the. Do you ever see that woman with the hijab on GB News that just shouts at everybody? I don't even know
Yeah,
what her name is.
I don't even know why they have them on, mate. Why did I have them on?
Just to wind us up. I think it's just to put our blood pressure up. They're
Why
trying to
did
kill
I
off.
have 'em on?
They're trying to kill off the angry middle-aged men, Paul.
Yeah. Laurie N, thank you, Laurie. Us older folk can see so clearly how much things have gone downhill in our lifetime, especially the last 15 years. Totally lawless now, Laurie. Absolutely. I often think to myself, what am I doing? Oh, look, Richard,
Sorry,
this is for you.
Laurie, sorry about that, mate. Just less of the us. You should have said me and Paul when you talk about older folk. I'm not an old folk yet.
Linda D, Richard, this is for Richard and his wife to get a wee break and see Paul. Wow, look at that. How
Oh, that's
lovely is
lovely,
that?
Linda. Thank you so much. That's really, really kind. You really appreciate
Did you
that.
send that
Thanks so
on
much.
my channel or on Richard's, Linda? I'll have a look, and if it came through on mine, I'll make sure I pass it on to Richard. Thank you very much.
Just on that note, Paul, if you're going to send me any money, just wait out on that one, because my bank account's been frozen again. My Santander
No,
one.
not again.
Well, I don't know, because they've locked me out. I can't even get in and log into the online banking, so I'm gonna have to go physically down to the bank on Monday. I mean, I'm laughing about it. It's not funny though, Paul. I'm laughing about it. And listen, guys, this is why we've got to stand against digital ID, because if these scumbags get control of all our ways of generating income, we're going to have a real problem. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Yeah, my bank account's frozen, the Santander one. So,
Oh, yeah. Just having a little look through the regular chat. Antifa need to be prescribed here in the UK, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Do you know what? I've always been big on me free speech, but as I said in the video yesterday, I'm sick of it. We've got to stop some of this shit.
I'm still big on the free speech. But you know what? With Antifa, I think if they committed crimes, they need to be prescribed. The problem is they kind of sail very close to the wind. Do you know what I mean? And I think we've got to be careful about. I despise Antifa, incidentally, but I think we've got to be careful. If they're acting violently, yes, they've got to be hammered and go to prison for a long time. But yeah, Mickey Ocean hacks my account. Oh, thanks, Mickey.
John White, the agitators in the UK are broadcasters such as James O'Boring and squealers like Owen Jones. Yeah, very true.
Well, that's a very good point, Paul. I mean, I think the BBC. I was listening to Jeremy Bowen today, and I used to think Jeremy Bowen was kind of quite balanced, but I think the BBC is just getting worse and worse. I don't normally listen to them, but the way Jeremy Bowen was behaving and the things he was saying on the BBC today were just shocking. You know, just absolutely
I
biased
wouldn't
and
know, mate.
reprehensible.
I haven't watched the BBC for years.
No. Do you remember the guy that was the BBC correspondent that got kidnapped and held in Gaza for years? Do you remember him? This was going back about 20 years ago. He got kidnapped and they held him again in pretty appalling conditions.
You're not talking about Terry Waite, are you?
No. It was way after Terry Waite. This was a guy, I forget his name. I think it was Paul something. But this was a guy, not Paul Thorpe, but this was a guy that was he was a fairly good journalist. And I wonder, is that part of the reason that the BBC are so biased against Israel? Because they're terrified if any of their correspondents go there, they'll get snatched and I don't know. It seems crazy. No, it wasn't John McCarthy either. John McCarthy was actually from Belfast, as far as I remember. No,
You see how the frustration and the anger has built up, and none of this really needed to happen. If the government had got hold of this right from the very beginning, none of this needed to happen.
And it was a Tory.
Failed.
It's a Tory government that allowed it to happen, Paul.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. Lily says Islam have made it very clear. Well, it's getting very hard. It's getting harder and harder to try and come to any sense of any of it. Rick Stoll, the Palestinians are Hamas. They voted for Hamas to rule over them. They are Hamas. I'm afraid I've got to say I agree with that.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Tina says, Tuesday TV said more or less the same. He said it's peace for now until it all starts again. I mean, look, for me,
yeah.
all this is really is a convenient break for Hamas. Gives them time to regroup, shore their tunnels up, and off they'll go again.
That's what I think. I think exactly the same thing. Yeah, that the just the BBC guy, Paul. I just googled it there. The guy's name was Alan Johnson. Very sort of. He was actually a very good reporter. Actually, Alan Johnson. Heidi's just put it in the comments. Thanks for that, Heidi. And you know, obviously that guy. I mean, he's. I don't know what he's doing now. He carried on as a journalist for a while, but I haven't seen him for a long time. And you just wonder again how. The thing is, Paul, there's human beings involved in this, and of course, look. Despite what I said earlier, nobody wants to see little kids getting killed. We want to see them getting de-radicalised and.
I don't want to see them carrying bloody AK-47s,
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Richard, either.
But this is the whole thing, Paul. This is the whole thing. That's what I was going to say. It's extremely difficult when you're fighting a totally radicalised population, how you do that. And I think the way that the Israelis have done it has been absolutely phenomenal. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And the number of casualties has been, considering the amount of ordnance and weaponry and force that has gone into those areas, the restraint of the Israeli IDF has been absolutely phenomenal. And that's why I get so annoyed with this complete slandering of them, you know.
Well, I was reading a report yesterday that said the civilian casualty ratio is the lowest of all the major wars.
Yep.
Civilian civilian casualties. For the amount of, I don't know if it was for the amount of bombs that have been dropped or for the amount of people that have been, I don't know what it was, but it was the lowest of all.
I'll tell you exactly what it was, Paul, right? So basically, when I was in the military, we used to call it FIB. You were fighting in a built-up area. I think they call it something different now. But it was basically, if you go into an urban area, the casualties are going to be absolutely immense, as they were in Fallujah and Stalingrad and any major city, probably in Berlin as well when the Russians went into Berlin. The civilian casualties are going to be absolutely monstrous, because what they would have done in old times, they would have just leveled, complete blocks with artillery and then gone through the rubble to find any of the enemy that they were looking for. Now, obviously, the Israelis don't do that. They actually send text messages to the people in the buildings that they're going to attack, saying, "We're going to bomb your building in 5 minutes. Could you please leave?" Right? To try and obviously get at the tunnels that are underneath those buildings. And there's an American military guy who's written extensively on this, and he says that that what the Israelis have done in Gaza is miraculous, and actually every other military should learn from the way the Israelis have actually operated in the Gaza Strip. And they've took a lot of casualties trying to actually save Palestinian lives. And I wouldn't be that sentimental. I would put my own soldiers before the civilians. I would just say, listen, we're at war. They've done what they've done. They're going to have to pay the consequences. Not deliberately targeting civilians, but if civilians get killed in the crossfire, let's be honest, it happened at the synagogue last Thursday. There was an innocent civilian shot by the police. Nobody's going to hold the police responsible for that. There was a live terrorist situation, and that policeman did what he thought was right at the time, and no doubt saved a lot of lives. But there was very sadly, a Jewish man, it cost him his life. But, so how people think that you can go into a conflict where you're dealing with maybe 40,000 combatants who are heavily armed, who are dug in, who have tunnels and all sorts of weaponry, booby traps everywhere. How people expect the IDF to go in there and do that without a single civilian being killed. It's just for the birds. And it's people that don't have any idea about how difficult it is when you're in some sort of contact situation to behave exactly as you should be, as you should behave. And I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about people deliberately targeting civilians, but even if you're in a situation where, you see someone with a weapon and you take a shot and you maybe hit the person, there's maybe a child standing behind them and the child gets hit, or the bullet goes through them and the child gets hit. That can just happen in a war. I mean, we were talking about this when we were talking about Charlie Kirk. How difficult it is to understand exactly how one round will react, let alone hundreds and thousands
Before
of
we
rounds.
end up tonight, Richard, we'll talk about Charlie Kirk briefly. Remind me before we go.
Yeah.
No more naps. Great comment. One of the comments of the night for me. England is not a battleground for foreign wars. End of.
Totally agree. Totally agree. I mean, I'm just a nerd. I've had an interest in these conflicts in the Middle East for years, and I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert, but I'm just a sort of amateur with a great interest in it. So I mean, I think, but the thing is, England's not a battleground for foreign wars, but you know what? Because of the global nature of the country we live in, because we brought everybody here, we can't now avoid being involved in those foreign wars in one way or another, and they will be played out in the streets of our country, and unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm just having a little look through the chat, Richard. I am listening to what you're saying, mate. I'm just trying to get a few of the comments up. Obviously, most people watching tonight, the vast majority of people agreeing with what we're saying. I mean, look, I've always said it. I'm always willing to listen to another side to the story, but nobody's ever given me one.
No,
Nobody's ever given me one.
that's the problem. That's
Charlie Kirk, before we go, have you been keeping up with any of this, Richard?
Not really, Paul. No.
It's weird. It's weird. I don't know what to make of the whole thing, but if you've not been keeping up with it, it's going to be difficult for you to have an opinion. But I said, I did a video on it not long after the event, and I didn't want to sensationalise anything. I didn't want to, because at the moment, if you make a video about the Charlie Kirk incident, you're almost guaranteed 250,000 views on a video, right? So it's great for the clicks and blah, blah, blah. And just for those that get upset about it, I turned the monetization off for my video, right? But something's not right about that. Something's not right about the story. Something's not right about the wound. The autopsy report that we're seeing, we don't know if it's been confirmed yet as actually being the genuine autopsy report, but if it is, if the autopsy report that I've seen, that guy is going to walk.
Wow.
If the autopsy report that we've seen is genuine, the guy that they've got for it will walk. So I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I'm hugely interested in it. I used to watch Charlie. The whole thing is just dreadful, and it's just so horrible. But something's weird.
Well, Paul, I mean, no matter what, what happened, what we know is this, right? We know that the man that was probably going to be president in 10 years' time got assassinated. Because Charlie Kirk would have been president without a shadow of doubt. He was charismatic.
Yeah, I
he
believe
was
he would be,
straight
yeah.
as a die. As long as he kept himself to himself, he would have been president in 10 years' time. And the fact that he's been taken out shows me that there's still a very left-wing deep state in America that are deliberately trying to destabilize things. I don't think any of those guys around Trump will ever not be targets for these people. In the same way that I don't trust the British deep state, I don't trust our security services, I don't trust our police, I don't trust our judiciary, I don't trust our government. I don't really trust our military anymore in terms of not the soldiers, but the actual, talk about the command structures and the people that are running all these things. All of them have been captured in the UK and in America. And, you know, what we're in is a political civil war in both the US and the UK. And I'm not talking about a live civil war, but obviously people like Charlie Kirk occasionally will be killed. But, you know, we're in the fight of our lives. And I think that it's vital that Trump shores up his base and makes sure that these people never get power. Because it's probably going to take 5 to 10 years to get rid of all these scumbags out of the FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, because you can't just go in and fire everybody. So there will still be that deep state, you know, cabal of people who are trying to destabilize things. And I believe I believe we've got that in the UK. I believe we've got that in the UK.
100%, 100%. David, thank you very much. Great speech, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Love you. Didn't see that, to be fair. Thank you very much, David. Based at Scott Gill, what do you think is going to happen to Tommy next week? Fine.
Well, I hope you're right, Paul. I mean, we need to pray for him because, you know, the way things are at the minute, I don't believe that the judiciary is not, I don't believe that Starmer's not talking to these judges or people around Starmer. I believe they're telling these judges pretty much what to do. You know, they're all Fabians, they're all left wing. And I'm very worried about next week. We need to pray for Tommy. We need to pray that he doesn't go back to prison because
I think that would be, even Starmer is not that stupid, surely.
Well, I don't know, Paul. I don't know. I mean, they want to destroy our movement, and the best way of destroying it is destroying the figurehead. So, I'm still worried about it, Paul. I'm still worried about it because I think they could send him back to prison. And then, of course, he's got another case coming up, you know, middle of next year, I think it is. So he's under constant pressure. And I'll be honest with you, Paul, I still don't think he's himself. You know, I don't think it's difficult to say what I'm trying to say. I think
Well,
he's
he's
still
entitled to be. He's been through
That's what I mean.
so much, isn't he?
That's what I mean. I think he's still struggling. And I think we've got to factor that in. And if you're the deep state, what you're probably going to think about doing is, how can we really do him in? Right, we'll send him back down again. Give him another 3 months in solitary. 6 weeks, don't matter, it'll still mess with his head. They're that evil, Paul. We're dealing with very, very evil dark forces, yeah? And so
this is not the country that we used to live in, that's for sure. Claire
well,
Bear.
if it is, then maybe the scales have fallen off our eyes and we're just waking up to what the country's maybe has always been like.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Claire says we'll have to watch what we say on the streets from January. Swearing will be on the spot fines of £5. How the hell are we going to police that?
We'll all be in bother, won't we?
David Lund, Julia really called out Starmer today. I'll have to have a listen to that.
Yeah,
I mean, the only
Can someone
thing
post
is,
that link in the comments so we
we'll
can
have a look. The only thing with Julia Hartley-Brewer is that she's, she lost my respect a long time ago, but there you go.
Ditto. Yeah, same as Paul.
Dark Side of the Moon, what do you think of Yusuf wanting the Muslim forums to get more Muslims in power MP? Not asking this in a racist way. Well, he is.
Yeah,
isn't he?
exactly.
Apparently, Muslims is a race. Like Christians is a race, right?
Yeah.
Like Scientologists are a race.
Yeah.
Are they?
Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's a power play. We all know what's going on. We haven't got to keep repeating it or saying it out loud. We know what's happening.
They're making a push for power, Paul, and they're doing it incrementally. And I think that's one of the reasons there's not a lot of violence. And I'm going to say something controversially. I think if we get a government that is committed and starts taking action against the networks and the radicals and the extremists and starts deporting some of these people and arresting people and coming down hard on them, banning halal, banning Sharia, banning the burqa, whatever. I think if you get a government like that, then you'll see these people show their teeth. And the reason that we haven't got a government like that is not because the state don't know what's going on, but because they're cowards. And let's get it right.
Because they do know what's going on.
Yeah, Keir Starmer is going to do 10 years at most to prime minister. He gets 2 terms, right? Most he's going to do is 10 years, right? So that what they're all doing, Paul, they're all kicking the can down the road because think we don't have to worry about that. People can worry about that in 10 years' time. But the truth of the matter is we don't have 10 years because we cannot have a situation. We cannot have a situation where our country is governed by people who want to impose Sharia law on it. That can never happen. And, you know, again, I'm going to be very careful what I say, but we just need to make sure that that never happens. And the only chance we've got to do it democratically is the next election.
Jackie Lee, thank you, Jackie. Charlie was killed by his own. Come on, Paul, read the facts. Now they got Tommy going to Israel, not happy about that. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate that as always. There was something else I was going to bring up before we go, Richard. It's just crossed my mind and it's gone again. I think that's called age, isn't it? Or something like that.
I get that all the time, mate. I'm younger than you.
What was it? I was going to ask you. No, it's gone. It's gone. Oh, yes, that was it. That was it. I've got it. We've got one video to play tonight.
Paul.
Yes.
Paul, before I forget, Where Are the Men of England? It's getting published by a record company on the 24th of October. It'll be on all the platforms. What we want to really do, what Ricky did. We want to really push the downloads. I think you've got the link there, Paul. I don't know if you can stick that anywhere or stick it in the description.
Have I got the link, Richard?
Pardon?
Where's the link? Did you send it to me?
I emailed it to you. Yeah, I emailed it to you.
Let me try and get it out. Yeah. Hold on a minute.
So, yeah, what it is, guys. I mean, it's going to be out in time for Remembrance Day. So I think if we just push the out of it, it'd be great to have that song really high in the charts somewhere around Remembrance Day, because I think it would just be because really what it's saying is, where are the men that we used to have in England that wouldn't have stood for any of this nonsense, that ran onto the beaches of Normandy, that fought in Passchendaele and the Somme? Where are those men? And so yeah, that'd be a really good thing if we could get that pushed out for
I'll put the link in the chat, Richard, but it's come up very long. I don't know if that's going to work. Do you know what to do,
Paul?
Can we get it up and we'll use it as the outro tonight?
Let me just. Yeah, I'll get it up, mate.
I'll tell you what I do want to do. I just want to play this video before we do that. Let me just. I want to tell you who the video is from, because what it says.
No, that link's not working, Paul. Just delete that, mate. That link's not working. Okay. We'll sort that out near the time. That's not a problem.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get that up on the. We'll get that up on the community section, and it'll be good to go. Let me get rid of that. Hold on. I nearly put myself in timeout then, Richard. So this is Bishop Snyder. I don't know if you've seen it. This is the Archbishop Snyder, apparently. Have a listen to this. It appears even the church is waking up.
Yes, this is very serious. Now we are witnessing an invasion. They are not refugees. No, this is an invasion of mass Islamization of Europe, which already went on for at minimum 50, 60 years, the Islamization in Europe. But now it is in mass. It is very evident. And so this is a global political agenda by the powerful of the world to destroy Europe culturally and religiously. I mean, to destroy Christianity ultimately in Europe, with the help of the massive Islamic population. And I was reading recently an article of a sociologist who made a calculation that maybe in 30 or 40 years, when it's now going on, so the majority of the population of Europe will be Islamic. Europe will be Islamic when this will go on, because the European people have almost no children, 1 or 2. The Muslims there, they have 5, 6 to 10 children, And so it is, you can only make mathematics, and then you can see that they will be in the majority.
So that's, I think it's Archbishop Schneider talking, and it's about time the church stepped up to the plate in many respects.
Oh, totally, Paul. Totally. I've put the I've dropped the video in there, Paul. Now it's the promo from the 13th September, but it'll do. I mean, it's basically got the whole track in it. So yeah, if you want to play that when we go, mate, that'd be sound enough. You can see
last super of the night. Thank you very much, David Lunn. 7-minute speech. Just type campaign against terrorism YouTube. Thank you, David. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Where's this link, Richard?
Pardon?
Where's this link?
I've just dropped it in the
Private chat.
Not in the private chat. I've actually put the video in the description. I don't know if I can share it. Can I? I'll try.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah, sorry, I've got it.
Yeah, that's it. There. Yeah. So
Right, guys, we will play out with this tonight. Richard, anything before we go?
No, I think just. I mean, obviously, it's been quite a serious video tonight, quite a serious live stream. But I think the reality is we've got to tell the truth about what's going on. We can have laughs and jokes, and we all love doing that. But I think we're in a very serious situation, and we've got to be trying to be giving very adult and grown up responses, but not ducking the issues either, Paul. We've got to talk about these things very openly because nobody's.
I always say, Richard, if people think we've got something wrong, tell us. Let's
absolutely.
debate. Let's debate. We don't have to hate and fight and argue. Tell us.
No.
Let's debate.
That's what we've always done. And I think what I would say is, the only solution I see politically is Advance UK.
Absolutely.
And we've got to keep pushing this because people are saying to me, "Oh, well, look, Reform are doing so well in the polls and this, that, the other." That's now. If everybody joins Reform, sorry, I keep doing that. You do it as well. Everybody joins Advance. Say Advance a million times so you don't. Everybody joins Advance. If we get 1 million people in Advance, we win the next election.
Billy's saying don't poke AI fake stuff. Now, I worried about that. And my source that sent that to me, they went away and checked it. I double checked it. And as far as I'm aware, it's genuine. If it isn't, obviously I would regret posting that. But as far as we're all aware, it's genuine.
What was that, Paul? I missed that.
I think he's talking about the video from the Archbishop guy.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm not sure. I mean, well, I know a lot of people have, a lot of churchmen have said that.
By the way,
before.
he's not the new Pope.
No. Look, there's a lot of Christian men have said that for years anyway. So he's not saying anything that they wouldn't say. So even if it's not genuine, it's the sentiment's right. Yeah.
This AI stuff, though, is a bit of a pain in the arse at times. I mean, it can be fun.
I think you can suss it out, though, Paul, can't you?
Again, I had to look at that video. I don't see that it's fake.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it again later. I mean, send me it over, Paul. I'll have a look at it, but I think it's genuine.
Right, guys. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. And Richard, we'll play this out. And
let's do it.
Yeah.
Buy the record when it comes out, 24th.
Where are the men of England, those heroes brave and bold? Where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love, the men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. Where were the men of England when abusers so depraved took the daughters of our nation, who forever they enslaved? What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold? The men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold. The vile police and vice squad, they all seem quite amused, as at the hands of groomers our daughters were abused. The politicians blamed the lads who stood up one and all. Most of all, they blamed the one who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. Where are you, men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. Where are you, men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within